Oh dear God. You mean to tell me that the aircraft carrier was actually a transformer disguised as an aircraft carrier? Yeah, as if that was supposed to be a twist, because anyone who knows anything about Transformers Fortresses knows that the fortress is usually a Transformer itself. Scorponok, Metroplex, Fortress Maximus, the like, Triptychon as well. Unfortunately, none of those that I just named are in Armada, so we have to deal with Tidal Wave. He is enormous, to say the least. He's also the hardest boss in the game. And yeah, they did a really, really good job of demonstrating the scale of this guy in this fight. He is huge. This scale is not represented so well in the Armada cartoon, where he looks huge at times, especially when standing next to other Decepticons, and then when he power links with Megatron, his individual components somehow become small enough to conveniently latch onto Megatron's arms, which would be impossible if they did not scale down. I'm convinced that scale is not set in the Transformers universe because of things like Megatron turning into a gun that Starscream can hold and that sort of thing. So scale is irrelevant, at least mostly where Generation 1 is considered. There's a demonstration of a few of his attacks there. He has many of them. I'll go over them here in a second. Yeah, if I didn't say this before, he's huge. This is what I get for making this LP in 2013, ladies and gentlemen. Now I don't know whether or not to make Attack on Titan jokes or Pacific Rim jokes. Of course, I already made a Pacific Rim joke earlier. But yes, he is a giant freaking robot walking in the middle of the ocean, so that's where that reference comes in. And then he's, you know, looks very Colossal Titan-y to me, even though we have no way of attacking him from behind at his neck or anything like that. Anyway, so to go over his attacks, he has that laser beam that shoots out of his forehead. He has cannons all over him that are, you know, the anti-aircraft cannons. If you use the aircraft carrier, they do not do a lot of damage. The laser beam on his forehead does a tremendous amount of damage. It's probably the most dangerous attack. And he also has rockets that he shoots from his, he has mortars, I should say, that he shoots off. Those are also quite powerful. Also, if you get too close to him, also he'll stomp the crap out of you. Although he usually stays far back in the water. That's pretty much all of his attacks, though. But the more damage he takes, the more mortars he shoots off in a single volley. So that's how you know you're progressing to the next stage of the fight, is when he stops and turns at you and shoots off his mortars, and depending on how many he fires off, he'll go from shooting like 2 rounds to 4 and then to 6 or 8 or something like that. His only weak point is his head, and I've chosen Red Alert for this fight because I wanted someone who's a little bit faster than Optimus but a little bit more durable than Hotshot, so that's where Red Alert comes in. And really there's only one mini-con in the entire game that can damage him pretty much, and that is Lookout, the sniper rifle. So we have to get repeated headshots on him in order to deal damage. I have just another red mini-con and Safeguard to give me a red mini-con team, and then I have Deflector, which is also essential for this fight because you can deflect the super death beam that he shoots from. He's got freaking laser beams attached to his head, and this is the hardest fight in the game, as I said. But it's only your worst enemy in this fight is not Tidal Wave himself, but it is your own flight or fight instincts is what it is. That is your greatest adversary in this fight, and I'll explain why. Winning this fight is all based on whether or not you know when to run and when to take a shot. And so really, it's that and your own depth perception that is really going to be your greatest enemy in this fight. You have to know how much distance you can get from him, where he's not going to hit you with that laser, and where you're close enough to him where your sniper rifle can still hit him. Of course, it's a lot easier to hit him when he's facing you than when he's walking in a general direction like that. And he doesn't really move in any particular pattern. Like, he could stop to take a shot at us at any really given time. So there we go. He's shooting off more rockets now. Mortars, I should say. They're mortars. They're, yeah, not rockets, even though they look like they're shaped like rockets. Anyway, and the other thing is, you can see the shadows of the mortars there as they're flying along, but they do a tremendous amount of damage to us. So we do not want to get hit by those at all. When he fires those off, that's when you know you have to move. But really, like I said, his most dangerous attack is that laser thing, and that's where I'm really going to take a lot of damage from, is trying to get away from that. So I wanted to have a fast vehicle mode where I can get some distance away from him, and I wanted to have Deflector. Now, a lot of times I died on this the first time I played the game because I didn't really know when to transform and fire off Deflector, because if it later in the fight, the lower his health gets, the longer the laser lasts as well. So a lot of times he'll be using it late in the fight for like a really long period of time, and he'll just be draining away your shield, and then he'll start going into your health, and you just can't get away from it, and that's really what gets you. Also, if you really know what you're doing, you can continue to hit his head even after he's blocked it with his hand there. And you have to know how many shots you're going to get out with Lookout before you got to get the hell out of there again. And how quickly it's going to recharge, how to time your shots to get the most amount of damage on him. The only other weapon I can think of that might be able to hit him is, what is it, Lock-On, but that is very doubtful. I'm thinking Lock-On would probably auto-target to somewhere in his midsection and just avoid his head altogether, or it just wouldn't have the range to even lock onto his head. So that's just not recommended. Plus, this is a lot more damage. This will end the fight a lot quicker. Yeah, so like I said, it's the hardest fight in the game, but really it only is if you don't know what you're doing. And I've beaten him as all three characters over the many times I've played this game. And you can still beat him as Optimus. It's just I was not feeling too certain about the whole distance thing with the laser beam. There he goes again. You gotta watch your reticle there to see where your maximum distance is with your secondary weapon. So yeah, I'm absorbing a lot of this damage from Deflector, but I'm almost out of Deflector, and he's still using it because he's down to critical now. This is where you're gonna get screwed. He really doesn't pull out all the stops until later in the fight. Yeah, I've almost got him though, so I'm really just, I don't care how much damage I take now because I've almost got him, and I just want to finish him off now. So I can afford to eat some damage if it means killing. But look at this. He's used his laser for like a good minute and a half or some shit like that. He just keeps using it, and it's just not going away. You can try to dodge it in your vehicle mode, but he's pretty erratic with it, but he's also pretty accurate with it if he needs to be. So if he's got a lock on you with that laser, it's not going anywhere. So the best thing for you to do if it starts hitting you is to transform and fire off Deflector or go in a different direction. You could say you could just... you can't really stand directly underneath of him either. There is such a thing as being too close where you can't even see his head in order to actually hit it. But it's not like you're looking at... It's not like it's a difficult target to hit. It's pretty big, unless he's moving. There's no... Predicting shots is not easy in this game with the sniper rifle. You really have to hit them head on. Alright, I think I've almost got him. Let's finish him off. Yeah, take that, Mr. Aircraft Carrier. And then he has succeeded in his namesake there. Alright, so now I'm editing back into the deep Amazon. We got one more minicon I failed to get at the beginning of the last video that I should have. So we're gonna glide our wings over here. This is after we get the minicon on top of the dropship there that's circling around the building. I don't know what I'm doing here. But it's a new primary weapon. I want to make sure I get it because it is something I'd like to demonstrate, so I don't want to miss out on it. We gotta fly over to this island over here. Yeah, the boss fight with Tidal Wave is one of the most memorable parts of the game, but the fact that Tidal Wave is even included in this means that this game was made after the later seasons of the cartoon, which means there's absolutely no excuse why we can't play as Blur, Smokescreen, Jetfire, or Scavenger, and why we also can't fight other Decepticons like Thrust and Wheeljack and Sideswipe rather. Sideways. Sideswipe is on the Autobots. That's one thing about the Armada cartoon I suppose I should address, is that they traded guys, sort of. They traded a unit from each team to go to the other side. The Autobots gave the Decepticons Wheeljack, and the Decepticons gave the Autobots Scavenger. And there's more to it than that. Their characters actually have a lot more to do than just that, but it makes for an interesting twist. Anyway, we are moving on to the next level now. This is, if you remember what I said in the last video, we are now in, what do we call it? Alaska. That is where Tidal Wave's destination was going to be before we utterly destroyed him. So we gotta find out where Megatron's base is over here. We're now playing as Optimus, and I have what is it called? Overwatch, I think is what it's called. The new weapon I just got there. It's like it has a single projectile that explodes into many smaller projectiles. And my secondary is Hailstorm. Is that what it is? Yeah, Hailstorm. That's the heavy quad rocket launcher and the most powerful secondary weapon in the game. It also has ridiculous ragdoll physics. And there's a new enemy type there. Those are called shield arms, and they are essentially destroyer droids from Star Wars Episode 1, and they are absolutely horrible and atrocious to fight if you don't have deflector, but luckily I do. But I actually completely ambushed that would-be ambush encounter by blowing those guys clean out of the air with Hailstorm. My other two are Slipstream and Deflector as usual, because I've got to get a Minicon over here that is immediately going to replace my current blue Minicon primary weapon with another blue Minicon primary weapon, which is nice. Yep, some of you up here. We look like we're not even moving. You'd think it'd be windier in freaking Alaska, but the water is just sitting perfectly still. You know, no snow blowing in the wind or anything. It's actually quite tranquil, to be honest with you. But it's making it to where we can just barely even make this landing here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this guy's going to be cheap and throw a grenade at me, but unfortunately Hailstorm decided that wasn't a good idea and killed them horribly, as well as launched me into the air. Like I said, it is ridiculously overpowered. It's the most powerful secondary weapon in the game, and rightfully so. I don't know if it's the overall... Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it's the overall most powerful secondary weapon in the game. And I will be using it a lot. No, it's almost kind of over... Oh, capture device. What are you doing? Stop. Hang on. This crap again. Okay, that's better. Anyway, we got a new Minicon, like I said. This is Aurora. It's a heavy ribbon beam, which is basically the Ghostbusters gun. And it's actually really, really good, believe it or not. I'll explain why it's really, really good when we actually get around to using it. Now, it kind of contrasts Hailstorm quite well because it is a beam that, you know, deals concentrated damage to a single enemy and can be chained to other enemies if you know how to do it. And that is a good contrast to Hailstorm and its splash damage. So Hailstorm is about splash damage and damaging multiple enemies or dealing large damage at one time to a single large enemy, but Aurora is more about a continuous stream of decent damage to a single enemy or at least 2 or 3 enemies if you know how to do it. And I'm rambling. I'll explain what I mean when I actually get around to using it. Optimus Prime is now an Ice Road Trucker. That's another reference I can only make now that I've made this Let's Play in 2013 instead of way back in 2007 when I wanted to. Let's head over to the first objective location now. There's a lake over here and there's a lot of enemies around it. Here's a better encounter with the shield arm. He can still be... He deflects a lot of different projectiles. If we had Firefight here, he would deflect Firefight projectiles with his arms. That's why they called him Shield Arm. And when he's in his ball mode, he deflects some projectiles as well. But obviously with Aurora, he just bypasses all of that. So, we thought we were clever by shooting him from a distance, but he decided to physics us into a tree. Now that is actually that is me not giving the AI in this game enough credit, because it was actually able to see me from all the way over there, something that even modern games tend to not do these days. But yeah, I guess I got him back by aiming at the wrong enemy and actually hitting him instead. So yeah, the game is just doing all kinds of crazy things right now. I don't even know what's going on. Wow, it's just so powerful. Yeah, 2 volleys from that, one charge of it essentially is enough to take out these spider tanks now. Ow. Yes, a tree was not enough protection from a giant laser blast from an alien robot. Go figure. Come on. Just want to kill it before I focus on you, shield arm. Okay, fine, I'll fight you. Like I said, they fire their projectiles, their laser blasts really fast. So having deflector is pretty essential when fighting them. They're not as tough as they look for such a late game enemy. It's just you usually fight them in squads of 2 to 3, and having them gang up on you like that can be pretty dangerous. But we have a really good minicon team right now. We have a blue and yellow minicon team, which is probably one of the best minicon teams in the game, which means we have a ton of additional health and all kinds of other additional goodies. So really, we're about as powerful as we could be at this point in the game. We're pretty much invincible. So even the likes of, you know, squads of shield arms is not enough for us to be thwarted by. And we're going to be fighting more of the tougher enemies from the previous level in here, more of those command units. There's some over the horizon there. There's two minicons over there I need to get before the end of this video. And before we actually get to the core objectives of this level, this is another big level, and it's nice and fun to explore. And I also love the scenery there with the sunset going on. Anyway, moving on. Previous playthroughs of this game, I had Firefight here, because for some reason I was under the delusion that Firefight was actually good. Because I also went through the entire Mid-Atlantic Open. I keep saying, like, I keep wanting to say Open Ocean or Atlantic Rim or Pacific Rim, something like that. I mean to say Mid-Atlantic is what it's called. I keep going through that level with the Spark Jump Watchdog combo, and so I never really went through there with Firefight before. And so at this point in the game, I still think Firefight is good. Which it is, and it's definitely cool with this whole Samus arm beam type nonsense going on, and charge shot and all that crap. But honestly, it's just too many enemies resist it. There's too many of these medium units with shields and that it bounces off of, and it takes too long to get the charge shot off with not really a whole lot of good results. So I don't really care for it anymore as much as I used to. I do admit it's cool, but accuracy is a thing in this game too. Like, there's no aim assist or anything like that, so accuracy is kind of a it's kind of a give or take thing with most weapons. And you know, even though you might be a skilled player, this is still a PS2 game, so you know, you can't really be that accurate. And having a weapon that is where accuracy is irrelevant because the beam just attaches itself to the enemy until it dies is pretty nice. So I used to not like Aurora, I used to prefer Firefight, but now it's completely the other way around because it just makes all this so much easier. And I also used to not get Aurora right away. I used to like, but now I highly recommend it should be the first thing you do when you go to this level. So I wanted to come up here to this mountain peak so we can get a great view. First of all, there's a datacon up here. And I'm going to fly down to that minicon down there, and it's going to be exciting. Let's watch. We are now Optimus Prime and the professional base jumper, and free glider, whatever they call those people to do this.